All right, friends, in this session, we're going to discuss how to trade gold. Now, many of you are interested in investing in gold, and that's certainly a smart thing to do if you're concerned about inflation or just the overall economy in general. However, when it comes to actually trying to make money from the trends in gold, that requires, in essence, a trading vehicle of some kind. And what we use whenever we trade gold are a variety of ETFs. My favorite ETF for trading gold is PHYS. And we're going to go ahead and type that in now, PHYS. And that is the Sprott Physical Gold ETF. Now, I do not like ETFs for long-term holding when it comes to gold, primarily because it's a paper asset. It's not a physical gold coin or bar in my hand. So I want to preempt this video by saying that I certainly am not endorsing buying gold ETFs for inflation protection or for long-term investing. However, when it comes to trading, they can be great vehicles for taking advantage of short trend events. Whenever the trend begins to move up or down, an ETF can allow you to get in and get out very quickly and make money off of the trend. Now, you are looking right here at our Trigger Trade Pro software. Now, you'll see as you come down, you can type into this chart or into this field here any kind of ticker that's an ETF or a stock. And in our case, we typed in PHYS. That stands for Sprott Physical Gold Trust. Now, how do we trade gold? Well, it all depends on our time frame. Are we wanting to day trade gold? Maybe not. Are we wanting to swing trade gold? Yeah, probably. And what about position trading? Position trading for those who want to buy gold and then ride it for maybe a few months, maybe even a couple of years, taking advantage of those trends. Well, our Trigger Trade Pro system makes it very simple for you to see the change in the trends and to find and spot those buying and selling opportunities. So what we have here is a chart of PHYS. Now you'll notice down here we have our tripwire, we also have our trigger, and our confirmation. Now, the tripwire, as we know, is the very first thing that we pay attention to even before we pay attention to the price. The price is not important. The volume is not important until we have what we call a tripwire. And a tripwire occurs whenever this squiggly red line dips down into the green area. Whenever that red line dips down into this green area right here, we then suddenly begin to pay attention to, in this case, PHYS, into this ETF. So the very first thing we want is we want to see the line dip down into the green and then emerge back out of the green and begin heading up. After that happens, the very next thing we want to see is the trigger. And sure enough, we have a trigger right here after the tripwire. So let's take a look. First, we have the tripwire right here. And then immediately after that, we have the black line crossing above the red line. Or if you're looking at this histogram in the back here, you're seeing it move above the zero center line. And so the trigger is right there. And so now we have a trigger. Now we have to find out, is this trigger confirmed? What we do then is we simply go down to our third indicator and look to see if it's in the green. And at the moment of this trigger here, it's not. It's down here somewhere. So we have to wait for it to emerge into the green, and it does that right about here. So it's right in the middle of July. This, by the way, is a one-year chart of this gold ETF. And so that puts us in the middle of July. So let's go ahead and go up and see where we would have been, where we would have received that buy signal. It would have been right here in the middle of July. So we could have bought this ETF at about 1080. Let's say that on the high side. Okay, maybe a little less if we were watching, but let's just say we got in the worst case scenario about 1080. Okay, well, the very next thing that happens is the stock certainly takes off the way that it's supposed to whenever a trigger occurs. It pulls back. That's not unusual. And then it goes even higher, and it tops out at about $12. Very nice, handsome profit in 2 months. In 2 months, you have a very nice, healthy profit from $10.80 all the way up to $12, which is well over a 10% return on your money in 2 months. Now, you can also find sell signals using the exact opposite method. And the way that that works is you wait for the tripwire to move. Instead of moving into the green to alert you to a buying opportunity, it moves into the red. And when it moves into the red, that gives you, that alerts you to a potential selling opportunity. So here we have it moving into the red, and then we see the black line cross below the red line right there. There's a inverse trigger or a reverse trigger. If you're looking at the histogram, you'll see that it crosses below this zero center line right here. So we have that exact moment right there. We have the trigger telling us to sell. So now it's time to lock in our profits. Now, the last thing we have to have is a confirmation. On the buy side, we need this squiggly line to be in the green. But when we're trying to find a sell point, we have to wait for this to confirm by being in the red. And that happens right here. It looks like towards the very beginning of September, probably the first week of September. So then we go up and we take a look and see where that was. And here's September, so we were right about in here somewhere at about 1140. So we locked in those gains and still got out. We didn't get out at the top, and we didn't get in at the bottom, right? But we made money. And I tell you what, that's really what the name of the game is all about. People who tell you that you can get in at the bottom and get out at the top, well, just have them show you how they do that, because you'll find quickly that they may be able to do that once, but repeating that over and over again becomes very cumbersome and difficult. So we're not going to aim for perfection, or we're only going to disappoint ourselves if we do that. Instead, we're just trying to make money on the trend. And therefore, we're not concerned with getting in at the very extreme bottom and getting out at the very extreme top. Those things, again, they're just very difficult to do. Instead, we're going to try to exploit the trend. And here, we obviously did. Now, you can use our trigger trade system to trade gold using this ETF, PHYS, or you could use GLD. I'm not as happy with GLD as I am with PHYS, but to be honest with you, I'm not happy about any of them, because these ETFs are simply paper vehicles, and they are not, they say they're backed up by gold, but I want the gold in my hand when it comes to long-term investing. But for this very specific purpose of trading, they can be very handy. And you can see how this trigger price, the tripwire, and the confirmation work perfectly to identify those moments where you can buy, and then you can turn around and you can sell. Now, let's take a look at one more. Here we have a tripwire that occurs right here, and then we have the trigger, and the trigger occurs right here, just afterwards. And then we also have confirmation because it's in the green. So if we come up all the way here, we find that our buy would have been right about here. It would have been right at about 1020. And then we see the price rise all the way to 1160. Again, a very nice return, well over a 10% return right there. And in just a 1, 2, maybe 2.5 months. So not very long, and we get a nice return. Now, how do we know it's time to sell? Well, we know it's time to sell because, remember, we do the exact opposite. Instead of looking for the tripwire to go into the green, we wait for it to go to the red. And there it is right there. That tips us off that maybe it might be time to sell fairly soon. Then we wait for the actual inverse trigger, and we have one here, we have one here. But remember, we are not going to take these seriously until we see the confirmation break down to the red. And as soon as it dips below the green and into the red, there comes our sell signal. So if we go straight up here, we find that we're selling out somewhere in here. Now, again, if you wait for this, of course, this will limit some of your profits. Some people will go ahead and sell the moment that these two touch, and they will sell on an inverse trigger. However, for those who want to not get, not take their gains too quickly, you want to wait until the confirmation comes down into the red. So this, again, is a very powerful system, and this is a one-year chart. Our software is designed whether you're a buy and hold investor and you just want to lock in your profits at certain times, or if you are a short-term trader, it doesn't matter. This system will really work for any of these circumstances. So let's assume that you are a position trader and you want to trade gold, but you want to hold it for a long period of time to exploit the trend. And you can use this to buy physical gold. You can use our system to identify those moments to buy physical gold. So here we have, let's go ahead and type in GLD, because GLD will give us much more time on a chart, because PHYS is fairly new compared to GLD. So let's go to a 20-year chart of GLD here. And again, this is a gold ETF. All right, and here we have not quite a 20-year chart, but as far back as it will go, whenever the ETF began trading back in 2007, late 2007, early 2008. And here we have what appears to be a tripwire, and you see how much more smoothed out this line is, and that's because we're dealing with a longer time period. Now, let's go ahead and take a look here, and we certainly have the tripwire occurring here, and then we are waiting for the trigger. Now, notice what's happening here since 2012. As gold began to have a hard time and began falling, we see the trigger, the black line staying below the red line this entire time. Even though we have a tripwire, it still hasn't crossed. But look at what's happening right now. Look at that. We have a long-term, multi-year trigger occurring. But notice where our confirmation is. It's down in the red. So it's not time to buy yet. We would only buy whenever this line crosses back up into the green. And all of our subscribers are going to receive a notification as soon as that happens. Now, this is a very powerful way to trade gold. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can move it to a 1-month chart. Let's say that you're wanting to do very short-term trading on gold. Let's just change it to a 1-month. Hit Update Chart. And here we have, a pretty difficult time to be buying gold, especially the last 30 days. But you will see that we do have a tripwire here, but we really don't have much of a buy signal at all. In fact, the trigger is still down low. So there's not much to do here yet either. So gold is not in a place to be bought, even on a short-term basis. We don't even have a short-term trigger price. So what we're doing is we're waiting for that momentum to begin to build and this confirmation to move back into the green. And when that occurs, it's going to be a perfect time for many investors to begin piling in to gold, preparing for a multi-year bull run. And if you want to be notified as to when that happens, simply become a subscriber. You can do that on our website at ftmdaily.com/subscribe. Or if you want to have this actual software where you can actually see this for yourself and use this, and by the way, this works on any stock or ETF, this service does. This powerful tripwire system. You simply wait for it to trip, wait for the trigger, and make sure it's confirmed, and then you enter. Very powerful system, and this is how you trade gold with our Trigger Trade Pro system. Thank you so much for listening, and God bless.